You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.
This is Rod Mahood, your in-game voice of the Niagara IceDogs, and you're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast on the Armchair GM Sports Network, your podcast source for all game analysis, team interviews, and up-to-date news regarding the Niagara IceDogs.
Perlini! Overtime! IceDogs win! They score! Verhage was also jamming away. It's a power play goal for the IceDogs. And they score! Hosang, first goal as an IceDog. Strom stops Shipley. Richie scores! It gets into Akil Thomas. Thomas has the angle coming in. He scores!
Welcome into another episode of the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs. Proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all four of their great Niagara region locations. Live right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network YouTube channel. And thank you to those listening on your favorite on-demand audio platform. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to give us some love. Hit like, hit subscribe, and smash that bell to stay up to date with all of our live coverage here on the network. Going over the IceDogs' first playoff series since the 2018-19 season. Barrie Caputo and Cam Halbert are with you. Make sure to give us a follow on X at Dog Pound Podcast. Stay up to date with all of our IceDogs coverage, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok by searching the Armchair GM Sports Network. So, Cam, for the fans listening, this has been a long time coming here for the IceDogs. Again, not the second half that they would have liked after such a great start in the first half. We're going to get into all the statistics, all you need to know about the series, the head-to-head versus Barrie, the look at what the updated lineup's going to be for the IceDogs going into it, and everything else. We're also going to hear Captain Kevin He's thoughts, as well as head coach Ben Boudreau on what they think of this team going into the playoffs here, and their mindset within that room of going into a underdog matchup against the number 2 seeded Barrie Colts and the division winning Barrie Colts. So, Cam, before we get into all of that, again, for somebody that's been following the team for the last few years and yourself, and this is the 5th year of the Dog Pound podcast itself, we're going to be excited. This is going to be our first taste of covering the playoffs for the IceDogs, and it's definitely just something that the fan base and ourselves are definitely looking forward to, even though, it may be a tough hill to climb this year. The next couple of years are going to be very exciting for this team too.
Yeah, I think it's extremely important for still a relatively young team just to get some playoff games to know what that feels like, so that next year, if it is really their championship window, that they don't just go in and not have that experience to fall back on, because a lot of the team will still be around next year. But yeah, you mentioned it. The second half was really, the second half is more of what the fan base and the team has become accustomed to over the last few years, and obviously not making the playoffs since 2019. It's been a long time. However, that first half, that's something we haven't seen since Akil Thomas and Jason Robertson. So that at least shows that the team is capable, and we saw even in the back half that we're gonna call on that a lot. But that game against London was probably one of the best games the IceDogs franchise has played outside of a playoff matchup in the last 5 years, because that was a scheduled loss in the run of just a horrific losing streak, and the team came together for a night against the best team in the CHL and were able to win. So, it's not all doom and gloom, and I'm excited to watch them play, because early on and even throughout, no matter what, when there was a time in which you thought that they wouldn't win or get steamrolled, they'd find a way to at least keep it close. And there's a lot of guys on the team, especially the top end. I mean, Owen Flores, this is his last shot in the OHL.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to go out with a whimper. He is easily one of the most hot-headed and competitive goaltenders in the OHL, and I'm excited to see him go up against a team that is, going to give him fits. It's going to be very difficult. On top of that, Kevin, our first NHL drafted player since Tomasino,
Yep.
Memory serves, he gets his first taste of playoff action, and then everyone else, you've got two 16-year-olds in Max Crete and Wasslin. They're going to get their first crack at what it's like in the playoffs. And, I'm just really excited to see this team kind of come together. And if there was a team that was going into the playoffs that desperately needed for everything to tick back to zero, it's Niagara IceDogs. Because if they win game one, the last 34 games means nothing. Right. So, and I think that's what the magic of the playoffs is, coming in as a massive underdog, all it takes is one win. It's hockey. That's the great thing about hockey. There is a ton of luck involved. And, the IceDogs have it within them to beat great teams. They've beaten the best one. In fact, the London Knights, if memory serves, have only lost 11 games in regulation, and the IceDogs were one of them. And that was a few weeks ago. So just wanted to get that out of the way for the fan base, because I know things look bleak. Everything's at zero. The regular season does not matter now. So,
and with Owen Flores being healthy, your starting goaltender, if he steals you a game, you never know what can happen going into the series if you gain confidence, right? Because Barrie has all the confidence in the world going in. They probably think that to themselves that this is going to be, a first-round matchup that they really like. But if the IceDogs are able to punch them back in the mouth, you never know what can happen in a 7-game series. Like you said, it all goes to zero. Only winning three games in their last 24 really does, or 23 really doesn't matter once you get into the playoffs here, and everything goes to zero, and the first to win 4 games. So it's just going to be exciting. Again, game 3 and 4 are going to be there at the Meridian Center. I've got the playoff schedule up on the screen there. Tuesday, April 1st. So again, it's not April Fool's. There will be IceDogs playoff hockey at the Meridian Center. And then Thursday, April 3rd are going to be the 2 IceDogs home games guaranteed. If they do make it to Game 6, it would be Sunday, April 6th, all games at 7 p.m. There in Niagara. So again, Cam, that's just exciting for the Niagara region. I want to be able to see that barn packed. I used to go to playoff games back in the day, standing room only. They had the band there in the corner as well. Like, just such a great atmosphere, and I think it's something that the region and the fan base have really, gone through and really, are going to hopefully, embrace at least these next 2 games for what's to come in the next few years, and just finally start to see some positive results here in Niagara once again.
It's in a very weird schedule, I will say, though, because the Thursday night game, so we kick off. They kick off the OHL playoffs this year as the first game, essentially, technically, because Saginaw and Windsor both have 7:05 starts on Thursday. Those are the other 2 series that are starting up on Thursday. The only series that does not play on Saturday that starts on Thursday is ours, and then it's Sunday. So it's a long break. Friday, 2 days off. Very interesting. Again, I think that it's massive for the IceDogs to win one. Just to split there, and if they win that first one, man, then Barrie's got to sit with that for 3 days, which is going to be interesting. But nonetheless, yeah, man, I'm just excited. I think that it is awesome for the franchise, because a lot of the casual fans over 5 years of not making the playoffs and, all of the what's going on outside and things like that kind of begins to heal with playoff rounds. And my goodness, you give them a win at home to, in the playoffs, it's just going to go a long way for that fan base. And like I said, I don't think their championship window is this year. And a lot of people know that. And but there's been crazier things that happen in hockey. I'm trying to remember the miracle run that happened. Was it Peterborough a couple years ago? They weren't anticipated to do well really in the play. I can't remember.
They were the 4 seed.
Yeah, exactly. And just kind of went on a run. It's well within them, but I think that it's big for the city going into next year, regardless.
And the attendance has been better.
Yeah, in the second half, basically since New Year's, it's been a little bit better. And I don't know. I'm trying to think of what would lay into that. Hockey in general tends to tick up in attendance when the NFL is over, but we're in Canada. I guess we are technically close to Buffalo, and we had tons of Sunday games. So that probably plays into it a little bit. But nonetheless, it has felt really nice to see the Meridian Center packed. It's one of the best arenas in the OHL, and I expect it to be loud on April 1st.
The last IceDogs home playoff game, Cam, April 13th, 2019. It was a 3-1 loss to the Oshawa Generals in the series where they were favored when they had gone in all in for that. They had gotten Jason Robertson. They had gotten Jack Studnicka from the Oshawa Generals as the captain. Then they went on to lose to the Oshawa in the second round. So the IceDogs went out earlier than expected that year. But again, that's going to be the first time. April 1st, 2025 is going to be the first home playoff game since that April 13th, 2019 game against the Oshawa Generals. So that's just exciting again for the region, the fan base, and everybody that supports this team and supports our podcast as well. Thank you to everybody that's stuck with us through the game recaps and everything like that.
We'd be done.
Yeah, I mean, again, like it's been fun, especially the first half of the year with what the IceDogs were able to do. And again, the playoff schedule. It has to do with Barrie having an event at their arena on the weekend, so that's why they can't.
The back-to-back is rough.
Yep, game 2 and 3 is going to be a back-to-back from Barrie to Niagara, Monday, Tuesday.
Very interesting to see how that plays out because, again, the dynamics of the series change quite a bit. It's just, like I said, if Niagara can steal one, it just, man, it would go a long way just for the team themselves. Because, like I said, everything goes back to zeros in the playoffs and you don't care about it. Obviously, you think about it, though. Obviously, like it's in the back of the players' minds, I'm sure, just the recent play. But one win early on in the playoff round and they forget all about it, right? So I'm curious. I mean, I'm sure we'll get into, the matchup and whatnot, but it's usually pretty heated. So, a division rival and there's a lot of chippy guys on both teams. So we'll see. And Gabriel Eliason is usually at the heart of it. At least last time that they were
your favorite Barrie Colt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm excited to see how the boys respond.
Yep.
Because nothing brings a team together like the playoffs.
Let's quickly go to IceDogs Captain Kevin He on Captain Kev's Flight Deck, brought to you by Gales Gas, your go-to gas station in the Niagara region. They're not just a gas station, they're a local tradition because when it comes to fuel, you're going to Gales in multiple locations across Niagara. Here's what the Winnipeg Jets, 4th-round pick in the 2024 NHL Draft, and the IceDogs captain has to say about his first appearance going into the OHL playoffs. Back in our final installment of Captain Kev's Flight Deck with IceDogs Captain Kevin He. Kev, finally reached the end here. The regular season's over. You're going to get your first taste of playoff hockey in the Ontario Hockey League in your 3rd year. Just how excited are you for the guys in that room and yourself personally to finally experience what the OHL playoffs are like?
Yeah, it's going to be huge for us. I think that's the goal we set for this season and something we've all been working for. So, it's going to be a quick turnaround and we're going to try to focus for the playoffs.
For yourself personally, I think you've been playing better hockey in the month of March than maybe you were at the beginning of 2025 there, 11 points in your last 9 games. How do you feel personally getting back in the goal department and really helping your team offensively out there?
Yeah, I just try to do what I can for the team, whether it's scoring goals or hits or block shots and whatnot, but just trying to keep it simple. I think that's what's worked for me, and just trying to use my line mates a little bit more.
A couple things that have happened the last couple games. Firstly, the billet ceremony. Just how much do you guys do the billets mean to you guys in that room, and being able to celebrate them, be able to kind of give them some stuff, and be able to really give thanks to what they do for you guys all year round?
Yeah, they're our home away from home, right? So they've done so much for us, and especially the young guys. When I came into the league, and they played a huge part of my life. They've showed everything, and they've been everything for us. So it's a huge thanks to them, and they mean everything to us.
And then the overage ceremony earlier tonight with Noah Van Vliet, Andre Loshko, and Owen Flores. Those three guys going to play their final games here in the Ontario Hockey League and junior hockey. What have those guys meant to you in that room in there?
Yeah, they're incredible leaders. Great guys on and off the ice, and they mean everything to this team. And a lot of players look up to them. So, for them to honor them tonight, I think was huge for us.
As the captain, does anything change in your mind as far as the message to the guys in the room as you head into your playoff series as underdogs, and as a great start to the year that nobody kind of expected from you guys, and now wanting to play better hockey down the stretch? But what's your message to those guys in that room to be able to know that once it hits playoff time, 0-0?
Yeah, a lot of guys, we're all looking forward to playoffs, so. I think it's going to be a huge push for us, and I think we just got to, keep focused and, stay dialed going into the playoffs.
Lastly, what's your message to the fan base? Obviously, since you've been here, they haven't been able to experience playoff hockey. Now you're going to experience it together. Games 3 and 4 should be electric here at the Meridian Center. And for the Niagara community, how much do the fans mean to you, and how much are you looking forward to seeing this place packed?
Yeah, it's something I've been looking forward to the whole season, right? The fans mean everything to us, so it's going to be electric, like you said, in the playoffs, and I can't wait to be there.
IceDogs captain Kevin He on the last installment of Captain Kev's Flight Deck. Kev, thanks so much for all the time this season that you've given us on these segments for the fans, and best of luck going into playoffs.
Thank you, Caputo.
There was IceDogs captain Kevin He. Again, thanks to him for giving us that segment every single month here on the show. It's been quite the year for Kevin He, being drafted by the Winnipeg Jets, signing his NHL contract, and getting all that extra attention, being the first Chinese-born player to sign an NHL contract, was named the captain when Gavin Bryant was traded. And again, Kevin He ends up finishing with 36 goals and 75 points in those 62 games. Cam, quick thoughts on what you thought of the captain, and again, got off to a really hot start, and then has played better hockey, as I mentioned there in the last little bit there, 11 points in his last 9 games.
Well, I mean, he has been just the most upstanding player. It's always a pleasure to talk to him. He really leads by example, his work ethic and everything like that, and I can tell that he is the type of player that will shine in the playoffs. And, they are only going to go as far as Kevin takes them. If he, and I think he knows that. I think he's excited about it. And you got to remember that he got drafted into the NHL with no play, and they haven't been able to be in a playoff spot, right? It's tough to be on a franchise, that hasn't really succeeded, and still be able to get drafted, and it's his performance this year. He's taken a step every single season and basically improved by 20 points ever since his rookie season. He had 34 in his first season, 53 last year, and now 75. So it's been a pleasure to watch him throughout his entire career, and I can't wait to see him in the playoffs.
Yeah, that speed and the way he can lay hits when he's coming full speed. I mean, again, he's a physical player. You can tell he's bulked up this season and has just really rounded out into a better all-around player. And again, it's going to be his first taste of playoff experience in 3 years. Cam, any quick thoughts on the overage ceremony and the billet ceremony that happened last week?
That's huge, and I don't think a lot of the fans realize how important the billets are. I mean, a lot of the league wouldn't operate without them, and it's really a tight-knit community, and you have to understand that these players, these people dedicate their time and really a lot of their life to helping these guys succeed and stay dialed in and everything like that. It's tremendous to see what the billets do for not just the Niagara IceDogs, but the league, and obviously it's great to have a ceremony that highlights that.
Yep, and the overagers, obviously Owen Flores, Andre Lashko, and Noah Van Vliet want to finish out their OHL career strong. We always talk about, looking ahead to the next 2 years, but, out of respect to those guys, they want to go out, on a positive note as well. So that's always, the double-edged sword there, and Owen Flores has been really their team MVP this year, even though he missed that month stretch there. Before we hit the break, Cam, let's quickly talk about the last lineup for the IceDogs here. And kind of what the outlook of the team is going to be. Relatively healthy, which is a good news there. I know Ryan Robrick and Matthew Paris both sat out just on that rotation that they were kind of doing the last couple of weeks of the season where they'd sit a couple of players. But realistically, the lineup that we're looking at going into the playoffs is going to be Kevin He, Alex Asadorian, and Matthew Paris, Ryan Robrick, Ethan Zada, Sean Doherty, Mike Levin, Andre Lashko, Brady Waslin, Max Crete, Ivan Gallianov, and Blake Aerosmith, with Charlie Hotlis and Rafik Dianov as the extra forwards. And then on defense, you've got Noah Van Vliet and Jack Brody, Callum Shanowski and Matthew Virgilio, with Blair Scott and Darcy DeWatcher, and then obviously with Owen Flores and Matthew Humphreys and or Hayden Jeffrey there. So realistically, the only player that, again, we're still waiting to hear if he's going to be able to play in the upcoming playoff series is Andrew Wysick, and that's really unfortunate for Wysick, the longest tenured IceDog, was drafted in 2021, has been here through so much. He's been through so many injuries in his career, and you really want to see him get his first taste of playoff action. So Andrew Wysick, really the only player for the IceDogs, knock on wood, that is going to be at least out for the start of the series. We'll see if he's able to come back. Again, he missed the last week or two, so it would be really nice to see number 25 or number 75 there fit in the top four of the defensive core there. A lot to ask for Darcy DeWatcher as a really young defenseman there in the third pair, but he's played better in the last week or so, getting a lot of reps. So, Cam, what do you think of the lineup going in and it being relatively healthy other than Wysick?
Without Wysick, that puts a lot of stress on the D-core, which has struggled. They've given up the most goals in the OHL, right? So there's no way around that. Even with Flores in net, that they're going to give up a lot of shots, and more than likely, if the Ice Dogs are going to win, it's probably going to be a high-scoring game. And not having Wysick is pretty tough. But that being said, we talked about this a couple times on some of the recaps. The lineup. I thought that I'm just a fan watching, and watching the team from a different perspective. I don't see all the ins and outs and everything like that. I was always surprised then to go back to Kevin and Lashko, just simply because at the beginning of the season, no matter who was on their right side, that was really the best line. And then Wasslin with Zada and Robrick for the middle stretch of that season was unbelievable. So that's my only question, is to flip Asadori and Lashko. But hey, if they have kept these lines together for a little while now, and the forward group is healthy, so it does give them a lot of depth, because Lashko, obviously 70 points this season in 67 games, as your third line center, is one of the better third line centers in the OHL. So I think in that it's just about matchups there. But that second line, I'm curious to see how they perform. Again, very young, Zada, Robrick, and Wasslin. Doherty. My apologies.
Or if they put Wysick or Wasslin up there, I'm not sure, but we'll see.
It's just that's a younger line, and you have to assume that the Barrie's got that North Bay line that essentially all their overagers, right? Like, they're going to be battle tested. North Bay's been a good team over the last few years. And congrats to them for sneaking into the 8th seed, by the way. That was, battling out. It didn't look like at the beginning of the season they were going to be able to, but that's going to be a really tough line to go up against. So we'll see the matchups. I think matchups are going to be important, but the D-core they got to play like they did in London. I don't know what was said. I don't know what the game plan was, but there was a stick on every shot. Everything was to the outside. And they've really got to do that. And the other thing is, they can't give up a goal in the first minute of the game. Like, they do that. I would love to know the stats on the first goal given up in the first 5 minutes of the game. The Ice Dogs have to lead in that category, because I don't know how many games we saw where it was just on repeat. We give up the first goal and then they're chasing it the whole time, right? So we found success by just keeping it real close for as long as they can. And I think they can, have a shot.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting, because you see Barrie, and they've got 4 really solid lines, 3 scoring lines. You mentioned that North Bay line of Van Steensel, Romani, and Wakely, playing together for so many years in North Bay and then coming here to Barrie. They've got, the top-end players like the Brad Gardners and the Cole Baudouins and the Bo Jelsmas. Like, you can go up and down the list. They've got a lot of forward depth. So the Ice Dogs, again, when they've played Barrie, they've kind of held around for a couple periods, and then the horses, pun intended, take over in the third period. So the Ice Dogs conditioning definitely has to be up, and I think that's why you've seen kind of Landry Lashko be on that third line, maybe even with Brady Wasslin, to kind of give them some depth scoring throughout the top 9, and also because Kevin He and Alex Asadorian have played well together in the past. They played together the last couple of seasons when Asadorian's been healthy, and Asadorian, probably the second fastest player on the team, that can kind of calculate Kevin He's speed and with his agility, and with Matthew Paris on the right wing just doing all the little dirty work there. They have been good, so it's definitely going to be interesting to see the top 3 line combinations there. And then the fourth line also chipping in lately. Galyanov has definitely played his best hockey in the last few weeks there, has been chipping in with some goals and what we've kind of expected from him. And again, we'll see what the young players do, the Blake Aerosmiths and the Max Creets. This is really their first taste of playoff hockey. I know Aerosmith was with London, but in a very limited role and opportunity. So they're going to have to roll 4 lines, maybe 3. In the third period, they go down to 3 lines. But again, with Wysick out on that back end, like you said, the team defense just has to be there, because they've given up way too many goals, and Owen Flores has saved them many times this season when he's been healthy. So again, keeping the puck out of their net is going to be the number one priority here.
100%. Like, the staggering stat against Barrie, they're 1-4-1 this season against the Barrie Colts. Every single game in the season series, Barrie has scored at least 5 goals.
Yep.
So, like, that's where it has to start, because they have 2 very good goaltenders and a very deep team and a great D-core with a couple of high NHL drafted prospects upcoming this year in Keyshawn Aitchison. They are going to have a hard time scoring 6. So I think it's extremely important that they just keep. That was what they did so well to begin the season. They would just outscore them by 1, but they would keep it close. And I hope early on, that they can do that. It's going to be awfully tough, but yeah, they've given up 5 goals against every single game. Going to be tough.
It definitely is. We're going to get into more of the series itself. We're going to hear from IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau and his thoughts on the mindset of the team going into the playoffs and their first playoff series since the 2018-19 season and more. So stay right here. We'll be right back on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family. Back after this.
Did you know that the global pet food stores in the Niagara region are all independently owned by members of the local community? We believe that pets are truly part of the family and are a source of joy in everyday homes around the world. Yet that living, loving experience usually doesn't happen all on its own, but takes extra effort to create and maintain. And we want you to know that the owners and staff at Global Pet Foods are always there to help you keep it going, any way we can, because we believe. Proud show sponsor of the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs. We hope to see you at one of the following locations across Niagara: 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, as well as 400 Scott Street and 344 Glendale Avenue in St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family. Are you currently looking for work in the Niagara region? If so, you owe it to yourself to check out the services provided by the Niagara Employment Help Center, located at 6100 Thorold Stone Road in Niagara Falls. Their many free services include a fully staffed resource area open to the public, resume and cover letter writing, local labor market information, job search strategies, assistance with clarifying employment, training, and career goals, employment counseling and job search support, and Better Jobs Ontario information and registration assistance. Check out their website at ehc.on.ca or call 905-358-0021 for more information. The Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work since 1983.
This Employment Ontario program is funded by the Government of Ontario. Wild Bill's Auto Repair is your local center for auto maintenance and repair in the Niagara region. Since 2012, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop has been helping customers stay safe and confident on the road, knowing their vehicles in top running condition through their services. Located at 7868 Oakwood Drive in Niagara Falls, the garage started as a tribute to the owner's father, William Robert Hunter, who passed away, continuing the same community spirit and high level of service which customers came to expect from him back at Hunter's Auto Repair. Their multi-award-winning auto shop has earned the trust of the Niagara community with its fair treatment of all customers, who can feel confident they'll get the trustworthy advice and repairs during their visit. Their experienced crew loves meeting new people and looks forward to forming a lasting partnership for the care of your cars. To find out more or to book service, contact them today. 905-358-7868 or wildbillsauto.ca. Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road since 2012.
Celebrating a birthday, wedding, graduation, or just watching the big game, Carmine's Pizzeria Italiano is there to satisfy your pizza needs. Serving handmade Italian pizzas created with the freshest, top-quality ingredients, loaded subs, and their famous chicken wings. Platinum Award recipients of Community Votes Niagara for Best Pizza and Wings in all of the Niagara region 3 years running. Open 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week from their brand new location at 7156 Drummond Road in Niagara Falls. All payment options accepted to fit your convenience. Available for call-ahead pickup or delivery. Place your order today at 905-374-4400 or check out their online menu for the best quality pizza and wing combos you'll find in Niagara at carmine'spizzeria.ca. You've tried the rest, why not try the best? Carmine's Pizzeria Italiano, proudly serving the Niagara community since 2013.
This is Alex Asadorian.
Hey, it's Ryan Roberg.
This is Ivan Gallianoff.
This is Matthew Virgilio.
My name's Jack Brody.
And this is the
Dog Pound Podcast,
the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
Welcome back to part 2 of today's Niagara IceDogs OHL playoff preview right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all 4 of their great Niagara region locations. Brandon Caputo and Cam Halbert are back with you. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in live on our Armchair GM Sports Network YouTube channel. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and smash that bell, as well as those listening on your favorite on-demand audio platform later tonight when this episode does come out. Make sure to give us a follow at Dog Pound Podcast to stay up to date with all of our playoff coverage that we're going to be doing here for the IceDogs playoff run. So, Cam, we quickly went over it a little bit in the first half. I wanted to kind of save it for the second half here, going over the entire matchup here. Let's start off with the IceDogs side of things because, again, against this Barrie Colts team being within the Central Division, they've played them 6 times. You did mention 1-4-1. They win against the Colts this year. Their one win against the Colts was back on December 19th, a 6-5 victory. And trivia question, do you remember who the person was that got the game winner?
Was that Brody?
Nope.
Kevin?
Alex Asadorian got the game-winning goal.
They all blend together, man. It's tough.
So, again, the stats don't look great, as you mentioned, giving up at least 5 goals in every one of the 6 games they played the Barrie Colts this season. We're going to hear from IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau just in a little bit, his thoughts on the team as they go into the playoffs, where everything goes back to 0. But as far as the rest of the stats go, 22 goals for, 39 against the Colts. And Owen Flores in the net went 1-2-1. So again, pretty good record there for Flores against the Colts. Humphreys was 0-2, but again, it's going to be Flores' net. We're going to talk about the Barrie Colts net here in a little bit here on what might happen there, Cam. But quick thoughts on, again, not the greatest statistics against the Colts this year, a team that really loaded up at the trade deadline and gave up some really good young assets like Parker Vaughn and Shamar Moses were the 2 players that they gave up, 2 really good young players there to the North Bay Battalion within the division. So Marty Williamson's group, and again, Marty Williamson, so much success here with Niagara in the past and now with the Barrie Colts as the head coach and general manager. He's been in this league a long time, Cam, and he's going to have his team ready. So head coach Ben Boudreau really needs to get his team playing the right way and playing a system that's going to make them successful in a 7-game series.
Absolutely, and I was just looking over in terms of the power play numbers. Niagara just has struggled quite a bit. However, they did in their one game, they actually lost in overtime, the 7-6 game. Niagara's power play went 3 for 3, but outside of that, they really haven't had success in the power play at all. We talked about this last year that the IceDogs had a 10% power play, and even just getting that to 15% would probably result in a playoff berth. Now they hit over 20. And recently, their power play has been a little bit better. They've had a few more goals, but that's going to be extremely important. Is to capitalize on their power plays. It's going to be massive. They have to take advantage of that. I expect that this series is probably going to be pretty chippy. Mm-hmm. They've got to be careful to not take extras as well. So that's always been a kind of a struggle with this team, is that when they do get into I love the bite that the IceDogs have throughout the season, but sometimes it has costed them with extra penalties, and special teams in this series, you need every assistance you can get, and it's going to be really big for the IceDogs to capitalize on the power play.
Barrie 7th ranked power play this season. Niagara 11th ranked power play. Barrie 3rd best penalty kill. So again, a team 82.9% on the PK. Niagara 14th in the league in penalty kill. So the Colts have the advantage there with a top 7 power play and a top 3 penalty kill. So again, as you mentioned, special teams is going to be big. And if the game goes to overtime, the Barrie Colts have the best overtime record this season, Cam. In 14 games, they're 8-2-2-2. So that's
a stat that's asking to be absolutely broken immediately into the playoffs. That's one of those ones where, like the TV commercial is like, oh, it's the best overtime team, and they immediately lose.
That would be the story, right? If the IceDogs were able to get it to overtime and beat the Barrie Colts, that's the stuff that movies are made out of. The IceDogs in their 12 games that have gone to extra time, only 3 wins in those games. They do have a shootout win as well before shootout losses. Again, there won't be any shootouts come the playoffs, so that you can kind of throw that out the window. But again, wouldn't that be something if the IceDogs could take down the best overtime team this season? They're even better than the Kitchener Rangers and the London Knights in that category.
It would be massive. I think that's Again, I think early on it's going to set the tone. I would suspect we see some fisticuffs as well, but it's really going to be about when they get hemmed in their zone. Don't take hooking calls or delay games. Like that's what's going to be big on surviving, and they're going to have to get the puck out and not up the middle. We've seen that a lot recently. It's got to be off the boards and out if you're just trying to survive a shift, and that's going to go a long way.
And you know that the playoffs, we see this in the National Hockey League and even at the junior hockey level, the playoffs are called stingier. So you're not going to get as many power plays, as many advantages. So if you do get one or two a game, you really have to take advantage of them. As far as the IceDogs player stats go, we obviously know Ryan Robrick in his draft minus 1 year has been incredible. He's going to have the extra year with the late birthday. Just an incredible season, Cam. 41 goals for Ryan Robrick, 88 points. Just an incredible second season for him after a record-breaking 16-year-old season. Kevin He was second on the team in points, and then Andre Loshko, as you mentioned. Guys like Ethan Zada taking a big step in his draft year, going up to 56 points. You got Brady Wasslin there as a 16-year-old that broke the IceDogs assist record for a rookie. And then you've got the veterans like the Alex Asadorians, the Matthew Parrises who missed better parts of the season. So when you go into it and you look at Barrie's side of it and all the top-end NHL talent that they have, I believe they have 9 NHL drafted players on their team. The IceDogs only have 2 with Loshko and Kevin He, but they're going to have more the next couple of seasons. But you look, like you said, I think at the beginning, you need your big guns to really step up. And Ryan Robrick, I think, is a guy and Ethan Zada together are 2 guys that are chomping at the bit to get their first taste of playoff action. Being in the OHL the last 2 years, they're the 2 first-round picks of the IceDogs in 2023, and I think you're going to see the best out of those 2 players.
100%. And just to touch on, some of the top performers, the leading scorer last year was Gavin Bryant with 54. Kevin had 53. We have 4 players that have more points than that this year, right? So It's a stark improvement offensively year over year. And I was actually looking at the power play numbers. It was actually better than I thought. 5 for 20 against Barrie isn't awful. So, again, that's going to be extremely important for them to make sure they take advantage of. I think that we can't see a lot of giveaways and 2-on-1s, things like that as well. So the D-core is going to have to be involved quite a bit. And obviously not having Wysick really drastically changes that, who I think is extremely good at bringing the puck out. It also, I would love to see Van Vliet and Wysick back together. I just think it makes the pairs a little bit more balanced. But that being said, in terms of just the statistical performances, Brady Watson had that heck of a start. A little bit slower in the second half of the season, but the whole team kind of slowed down. And it was kind of why I wanted to see the lineup go back to what it was. But obviously, if he's not performing going up to the second line, maybe that isn't the way to go. And especially because of the level of talent that he's going to go up against here in this first round is going to be awfully tough. But that's how you really grow, right? And again, fantastic. We've had 3 straight years of rookie records being broken, with Kevin breaking the goal record, then Roberg breaking it immediately right after, and now Wasslin breaks the assist record. We've had some crazy good alumni, so good to see. And going into the draft year, it's going to be awfully exciting to see how high they can go. Also want to shout out Alex Asadorian, 32 points in 38 games. The biggest problem with him is just he can't stay healthy. But when he is, he continues to prove he's one of the better OHL forwards, and just work ethic alone when he's on the ice. He doesn't stop skating ever. Always a great player to watch. And again, we talked about this at the beginning of the year. Zada, the X factor was if Zada got 50 points, it's the playoff team. And sure enough, that's what happened. Zada had a huge performance, really cemented his draft pick. Because, obviously he had some pretty high pedigree, going 5th overall in the OHL draft last year with Robrick at 2. But not a good first season. I think that he would admit that, but learned a lot about the game outside of the offensive side. And this year, brought physicality, brought willingness to throw down, brought an offensive scoring touch, and really got some much needed chemistry with Robrick, and was a big part of why Ryan was able to have such a good year. So great to see Zada. He has become one of the most fun players to watch on the team, and I would suspect that he's got a letter next year for sure. And
he's such a pesky player too. You see him after the play goes down the ice, and he's trying to get an extra penalty here or there from the other team.
He is going to be key. I mean, the 2 games ago against Barrie, about a week or so ago, Not the finale again. That was bench players and back. I mean, like it wasn't a true representation of the lineups. But Zada and Gabriel Eliasson were at it the whole time.
Yep.
And I think that's going to be important, right? Like the Ice Dogs need to get in the heads of some of these guys, and he is going to be a pivotal player for sure.
And they need to finish checks. They need to really play this Barrie team hard and hit them in the mouth, because obviously they have a lot of confidence, and they have some players that can really lay the body as well. Yep.
I guess about that first period, they're all going to be juiced up, so it's going to be pretty interesting.
And lastly, the top 4 decor is going to be relied upon heavily here with Wysick out. You've got Virgilio and Shanowski, and then they've been putting Browdy and Van Vliet together because of Wysick being out. So it's going to be a lot of pressure on those top 4 guys, but we saw when they played against London what they were able to do, and when this decor plays the way that they should, plays up to their capabilities and doesn't really give up 2-on-1s or gets taken advantage of in their own end or behind their net, that they can really compete here. So they're going to be heavily relied upon here in this top 4.
100%. And I think Virgilio's had a tough go over the last few months. I thought that early on, it was very odd. The decor, was healthy for the most part of the season outside of Wysick, and again, he struggled with injuries his whole career. But when the decor was healthy, they weren't giving up 2-on-1s and breakaways. That was the big thing. And there wasn't these egregious giveaways. Virgilio's had kind of an issue with, in his own zone, clearing the puck. And I hope they just make the simple plays and defend themselves, because Virgilio's been great in that aspect. Been a great teammate in terms of sticking up for his teammates. He's a hard hitter, finishes his checks, as has Blair Scott, who's had a really quiet year. Very quiet season. But there's no way around it. The team has given up the most goals in the OHL. So they, that falls on the defense, and sometimes you need to save, but obviously no Flores for a long stretch of time that in the season obviously plays into that, but tight game in the first couple and everything changes.
Yeah, they don't really have that top end scoring offensive defenseman like you see on some other teams. I know Jack Browdy, 46 points, 46 points in 64 games, 8 goals, 36 assists. So again, a quiet, good acquisition again from Barrie. That for that Tristan Bertucci trade, that 3-way deal with Flint has worked out for the Ice Dogs with Scott and Browdy on the back end. And again, he's been quietly emerging as the power play quarterback, especially with Wysick out. You can see his speed, being able to jump up on the play and then get back. Sometimes I think he's a little too fast for his own good, or trying to jump in on the play and trying to be like everywhere on the ice. I feel like sometimes you see Browdy and he's playing left wing, center, right wing, righty, lefty. Like he's just all over the place sometimes, and he's got the speed to be able to do that. But if he's able to kind of wind it back and really be that catalyst on the back end for the Ice Dogs, it'll be big, because they really don't have that guy.
I agree. They do not have the minute muncher that can shut everything down. Van Vliet's very good, when physically, when they get into the boards or making sure that the forecheckers feel it. He's great at that. But they don't have the Sam Dickinson that can just shut down a line essentially and really smooth things out. So it's going to be a team effort. The forwards have to play. Without looking. All right, his team has given up the most goals in the OHL. He named the only defenseman that does not have a negative plus-minus.
Darcy DeWatcher.
32 games played, so it's not like he just had 5 games. 32 games played and is a 0. That's a stat, like that. So who knows? Obviously, protected, sheltered minutes, but hey, that's something. I didn't realize that. And shout out to Paris and Alex Asadorian here. Plus 12 and plus 6. Everyone else was a minus player. But
goes to show how valuable those two were in the lineup.
Exactly.
Quick shout out to Callum Shanowski, by the way. I think in the second half he's played his best hockey after struggling in the first half. I think he's a guy that's welcomed the extra minutes, and he's kind of developed into a solid top 4 defenseman in the Ontario Hockey League. He's played up on the top pair sometimes with Noah Van Vliet, going back to their Brantford connection there. But I think Callum Shanowski's definitely been the most improved Ice Dogs defenseman from the first half to the second.
wins the Mike Podolou Award for 2024, 2025.
Absolutely. So let's step aside here. We'll go to IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau on Inside the Coaches Room, brought to you by the Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work in Niagara since 1983. Check out today's job board at ehc.on.ca to find your next work opportunity today. Here's what the IceDogs head coach has to say about the mindset of the team as they head into their first-round playoff matchup against the Barrie Colts. Back inside the coaches room with IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau. Coach, I know you guys are going to be most likely underdogs going into your first round playoff series. How motivating is that for your guys, knowing that you guys are going in with those expectations? But you said going into the year that you wanted to make the playoffs and that you've accomplished this goal, even though the last 2 months haven't been what you want result-wise.
We talked about seeing it over a 68-game schedule, and whether you like it or not, I mean, that's maybe putting a little bit of a bow tie on it. Obviously, I think we've lost 18 out of our last 21 games. Of those, 11 one-goal games, and we talked about that between the second and third, trying to find a way to close it out, and obviously in our last game against North Bay here. So as far as our confidence goes, I mean, you obviously want to try to go in there, but with confidently, but at the same time, at the start of the year, nobody expected us to be in playoffs. We weren't in the power rankings. Nobody expected us to try to make it. So we were underdogs to start the year and found a way to have some success. And now at the same time, maybe some underdogs starting playoffs. And, we'd expect the exact same thing here.
How much more difficult is it maybe that if you would have had a slow start to the year and then came on in the second half, as opposed to having such a strong start in the first half and then going down in the second half? Like, is there any difference in your opinion from a coach perspective going into the playoffs like this if things would have been on the other shoe?
Making the playoffs was a lot more stress-free, with the start that we had, 22 wins in our first 33 games. And I'll tell you this, though, I'd rather have it the other way, where you come in hot and you're playing your best hockey heading into playoffs. So I think, as far as the confidence right now, we lack some confidence, and that just comes with winning. And winning solves a lot of problems, and we haven't been doing nearly enough of it. And, even when you lose, you look at yourself and you say, these are the games that you want to lose the right way. A one-goal game, another one-goal game. I mean, that's just a matter of inches right now, and we're not finding a way to get that extra inch in our favor.
And how much more, I guess, of a calming factor is it knowing that you have your starting goaltender Owen Flores back healthy, and then that missed a month of the season? It could have, as you said, it could have been worse news, but it could have been better news. But you were able to weather the storm without him, and now that you have him back playing pretty good hockey now going to the playoffs, and you know that number 35 back there, he's chomping at the bit, his final games in junior hockey, and he might be able to steal you a couple games here.
There's no question. I mean, we've got a 41-goal scorer, 36-goal scorer, 34-goal scorer, but our best asset is in between the pipes on the defensive end, and we know that we can put the puck in the net, but one area that we've really struggled is playing defensive hockey and trying to keep the pucks out, and we know that we've got the best player in net, and he gives us an opportunity any single night. So, to have Owen Flores back there is a very calming influence, and, as long as he's playing at his peak, he gives us a chance to win any hockey game.
Do you have any thoughts on the three overagers? Obviously, tonight was a big night for them with Loshko, Van Vliet, and Flores being honored pregame, and knowing that their junior hockey careers are coming to an end, but they don't know when, because obviously when you hit playoffs, you never know when it could end. So, what's the message to those three leaders in there? As they play their final games here in the OHL.
Yeah, it's sad anytime that something comes to an end, right? But at the same time, when one door closes, another one opens, and those guys got long careers ahead of them. They're unbelievable humans and really good hockey players. So, it's a sad moment in time, but that'll quickly pass, and they'll get excited for their next adventure. But a moment like this, it's when you take time and you reflect, because they've had a long journey to get to where they have, and they deserve a lot of accolades and the credit, because they're great humans and they're really good hockey players. So on a night like tonight against North Bay, you really want to find a way to celebrate them.
So what's the message now to the team here, as you're most likely going to prepare for your playoff matchup next week, and then probably play on either Thursday or Friday, get a couple days of practice? What's the message to the guys in that room? A lot of them experiencing their first time in the playoffs. Guys like Kevin, Wysick, Flores, who have been here through thick and thin with this organization. Then for the young guys too, like Robrick and Zada and Wasslin, getting the first of hopefully many playoff series to come.
It's It's very valuable. I mean, you might get 4 years, 4 cracks at winning a championship, 4 cracks at maybe vying for a Memorial Cup. And, my father was lucky enough to win 2 of them, and he's celebrating the 50th anniversary. And those are memories that you take with you for the rest of your life. And that's what we're looking at creating right now is, some great moments are born from great opportunities. If you're a Miracle fan and you want to quote that movie, that's what we have here before us is a great opportunity to set a great memory. And when the game's on the line, I find ways, they'll find the guys are band together and become a brotherhood, then anything is possible in the playoffs. So as long as you have that mindset where you can achieve anything, as long as it's a group doing it together, we've got a chance to win.
Lastly, quick thoughts here for the fan base. Obviously, you haven't been here through all that, but you know how much this team means to this community and the organization. Being a St. Catharines native, no playoffs since 2018-19. How excited are you to see this building packed for Game 3 and 4 and to see them finally be able to experience something like that again?
Yeah, I can't wait. I want to see what it's all about here. I mean, the community, the Chamber of Commerce has been talking about it. I mean, the businesses, the long fans that have been here, that have been waiting. I mean, we play for them, and ask all those kids where they're from, and they might say different cities, but come Thursday, Monday, maybe Tuesday when we get in with the playoff schedule out, we're all part of Niagara, and that's the big thing is we got to play out there as a community, community of brotherhood here, and we're excited for everyone to experience it here together.
Thanks a lot, Coach. Best of luck later this week.
Thank you.
There was IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau and Inside the Coaches Room. Cam, a lot of quick thoughts there. We got about 10 minutes left on the show, and we'll go over quickly a couple other things there. But what were your takeaways from what Ben Boudreau said about his team going into their underdog matchup against Barrie?
Oh, the praise for Flores. I mean, everyone is obviously going to look at Ryan's Robrick's fantastic pre-draft year. As well as, Kevin and all of those accolades, Wasslin having a great rookie season. But you really saw it when there was no Flores in net, the team really struggles. And it's almost like it's not a sustainable winning performance, but over the last few years, if the IceDogs were to win a game, you needed Flores to play great and to give them a shot. And when he's in net, that's what he does. And he is one of the best, in my opinion, in the OHL. And it's his last kick at the can. And I think that we're going to see Flores play at the top of his game. And I think that he is fired up to be in that position. But it was nice to hear him say that. I also, appreciated the candidness about how, he would have rather, the season been flipped, having playing their best hockey in the second half as opposed to the first. However, you start out with the way they started out or finished, you don't know if you can pull yourselves out of that. That's because that could have led to some bad stuff throughout the whole season. But that being said, they're still in the playoffs regardless, and it's going to be massive for the city. And he did mention that it is sports. It's not just whoever is the favored always wins, and we'll see if the IceDogs can maybe surprise some people, because I think the Eastern Conference has a little bit more of an openness to it than the Western Conference. Because that looks like it's an absolute gauntlet for, even Windsor or Kitchener. So good luck to them to beat London. I think the Eastern Conference, it wouldn't even surprise me if North Bay won a couple games. I think that's the one thing is that it's kind of wide open here. There isn't any absolute gauntlets. So it's going to be really fun, and I'm excited that they're excited.
Yeah, I think Brantford, Barrie, and Brampton, the 3Bs, I think are the teams to watch there in the East.
For sure, yeah.
No disrespect to Kingston and Oshawa or even Sudbury, but I think the 3Bs in the East are definitely going to be the teams to watch there. Quickly on what he said, and it's something that you've kind of mentioned all season long, came even on our game recaps and programming note. We will have our post-game recaps for Game 3 and 4 for you guys live from the Meridian Center, is once they won 22 of their first 30 games, they knew they were going to make the playoffs, barring any sort of, catastrophe, which has almost been that the last couple of months here. But they were able to bank enough points in that first half. He basically said that they knew that they were going to be a playoff team at that point, and then it was just trying to figure out, okay, get past the deadline and get to the second season. Essentially, after the trade deadline, they brought in Blake Aerosmith, who's a young player, but really they didn't do much at the deadline. They didn't get rid of anybody. They didn't really do much there. And then they ran into the goalie situation with Flores going down and Robertson having season-ending surgery, and they had to rely on Hayden Jeffrey from Junior B and the St. Catharines Falcons, who obviously got that win against London, and then 16-year-old Matt Humphreys. So they went through a lot of trials and tribulations in that second half. But again, 22 wins in the first 30 games got them into the playoffs, and now that the mindset's kind of changed here going into the dog days, it was hard for them to kind of get through all that, but again, they made it through it, as tough as it was, but hopefully that's a great learning lesson for this group.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100%. I think that we talked about it for sure that, them just being in the playoffs was a win. And, then the expectation changed. Like, they're first in the Eastern Conference after 2.5 months. Then it's like, okay, things are starting to struggle. Things are starting to even out. We didn't go into it at the trade deadline. So then it's like, okay, get a home playoff round, right? But every team in the Eastern Conference went in except for North Bay, the IceDogs, and that's it. Sudbury bought Kingston, Barrie, all of them loaded up except for the IceDogs and North Bay. Right. So when all the other teams are getting better, that's very difficult. You already know you're in the playoffs because you had this crazy first half. It's a long season, man. I hear it from NHLers as well that I've talked to. In the February in the NHL is an extremely difficult thing for every NHLer to go through because it's just you've already been at it for 3 months. You've still got another 2 to go. And you know what I mean? So already knowing you're in the playoffs and not feeling that urgency. And then it's like, okay, we don't have Flores, so it's like, whatever. Let's just get through this. It's a testament, though, to just how good that first half was. And I think that you mentioned it, that it is a big learning experience because now going into next year, when the expectations are higher and the team is just better, that when they go on a losing streak, that we're not letting this thing go off the rails.
And I will say it's a lot more difficult traveling on those buses than it is those private planes in the NHL as well.
Winning
so that's really difficult.
Solves everything. If
Yep.
they win, if vibes are bad, all the outside noise that's going on and everything like that, all they have to do is win game 1 or win game 2 or even win game 3. Obviously you don't want to go down 0-3. That's pretty much, but nonetheless, you win one of those 3 games and they just get a taste. And then that's it. I'd be willing to bet that locker room looks completely different. The first period of that next game looks different. They just got to win 1, and it is going to take a lot of luck. But good thing they play hockey because it is the sport that requires the most of it. And I'm excited for those those first 2 games.
So Cam, this might be an asinine statement, but I have heard the Barrie broadcast talk about this. If Sam Hillebrand possibly has a bad game or 2, do we see Ben Hrebeck in there? Because, again, they split games this year. Hrebeck, 33 games. Hillebrand, 37. Again, Hillebrand, a star goalie for Team USA in the World Juniors. Had better stats in some ways. Hillebrand was 21, 13, and 2. Hrebeck was 29 and 2. Hrebeck had a 919 save percentage. Hillebrand a 903. Is there any way that you see possibly, if the IceDogs are able to get to Hillebrand early, that Marty makes the change to Hrebeck there?
I just don't when you've got a team that can't mess around. This is Barrie's window. They've gone all in, things like that, and I just don't see how at some point that the goaltender that's won a gold medal for Team USA that is like the most battle tested thing that a player of this the player that plays in major junior can win. I don't see how that he doesn't end up the goaltender. Now that being said, they have an embarrassment of riches, right? It's because if Flores goes down or has a bad game, Flores is going right back in. If one of them has a bad game, and even if it's like a 3-1 or a 3-2 loss, I could see a split, right? And maybe even just to keep them healthy. But since the gap in game 1 and 2 is so big, I'm curious that if we don't see, I could definitely see a switch in game 3 simply because it's a back-to-back, and that's a luxury they have. The IceDogs don't have that.
Lastly, Keyshawn Aitchison, Cam, obviously the X factor there. I know Bo Akey, Gabriel Eliasson, they got a really good decor. Tristan Bertucci, maybe one of the best top 4 in the league. The IceDogs are going to have to shut them down, but Keyshawn Aitchison, second in the league for defensemen in goals, 6th in points. and as well the best shooting percentage for any defenseman as well. So he's obviously going to be an X factor. Most game-winning goals for a defenseman, and second in power play goals as a guy that's going to be a first-round pick in the National Hockey League draft. The Ice Dogs definitely got to take care of him. I
got to be honest with you. Like I've talked to this, but covering the team, I've found like my favorite player to watch that isn't on the Ice Dogs. Before it was Ty Nelson for North Bay. I just love a defenseman that can play offensive, but also has that really mean edge. It apparently is my favorite of all hockey characteristics, and he has been one of, if not my favorite player to watch outside of the Ice Dogs. And I will say this, in the Ice Dogs' last home game against Barrie, they lost 7-4, but it was that game where they scored 4 in the third period. The game was very close after 4 or after 40. Aitchison was completely removed. It was the quietest side game. Because remember, like I said, I enjoy watching him play. I think that he's going to be a great NHL pick. The Sharks have a late first round pick. I hope he falls to the Sharks. They could be perfect in San Jose. That being said, I think that they clearly showed that they can quiet them down. Yes. Right. And it's just going to take it's just got to stay close. That's it. It's just got to stay close. The Ice Dogs have proved that that is how they win. And, that decor is awfully tough to shut down. However, if you have Owen Flores in net, you got a chance, because as long as he can see a puck, he's probably stopping it. So, Cam, as we look ahead here, again, 7-game series, never know what can happen. Games 3 and 4 on Tuesday and Thursday of next week should be electric there at the Meridian Center. Even if they're down in the series, it's just going to be great for the fan base to be able to experience playoff hockey. Again, if the Ice Dogs are able to steal a game or two, and that quick turnaround from game 2 to 3 is going to be massive, I think, in this series. If the Ice Dogs are able to pull out one of those games, maybe things change. But again, going in as underdogs, no expectation really in that sense. So they go in with something to prove to themselves and to the league that they are going to be a force to be reckoned with, going forward. But again, with the tough stretch they had down the stretch, all that gets erased going into the playoffs, and it's going to be exciting to be able to cover a playoff series here, and again keep the puck out of their net, because we know Barrie can score goals. Yep, 5 in every single game that they have played. Goals are a little bit harder to come by in the playoffs, but just keep it close. That's it. And I think that the first period of that first game, if they can score first, would just go such a long way, just to feel, to get into the game, not have to chase it, because they've been doing so much of that. So just pucks from anywhere immediately in that first period, just put some pressure on, and get used to the physicality. Finish your checks, because they're going to finish theirs, and they've got a mean team. So I'm excited to watch, and again, I'm just happy that we get playoff hockey back in Niagara. Absolutely. That's going to wrap up our Dog Pound podcast, Niagara IceDogs OHL playoff preview, as they look ahead to their matchup against the number 2 seeded Barrie Colts, right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in live on our YouTube channel, and those listening later on your favorite on-demand audio platform. Make sure to give us a follow on X at Dog Pound Podcast, stay up to date with all of our Ice Dogs coverage throughout the complete series. Again, for Cam Halbert, my name is Brandon Caputo. That's going to be it. We'll be with you guys for games 3 and 4 for our live post-game recap shows. Until then, enjoy the playoffs. Go Dogs, go, and we'll talk to you again very soon. You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.